Hey everybody, this isn't the typical type of content that I post, but this is a pretty exciting day for me. Got some things that are really some of the most special items that I've got in the last few years. So, if this is interesting, certainly pass it on. But hopefully, I think you're going to find, some excitement in this shipment that I got today, which was my winnings from Hakes Americana. Not typically a soccer mecca, but certainly they've had a lot of Negro League stuff over the years. And in here, there's some special pieces, as well as some other stuff that I just decided to collect. So this first item in this gigantic box here is an amazing photo, I'm imagining, of the 1927 Tour of Japan that the Chicago American Giants team, led by Biz Mackey, of Japan. So this photo, which you can see is gigantic, is a panorama of that trip, which was one of the very first, actually the first U.S. trip, at least as far as I know, to the Orient to show an exposition of Negro League or any baseball players. And they're the first ones, and later Major League Baseball guys would follow in the 1930s. And it was a resounding success. They were loved by the Japanese fans and players. And I think their record over, I don't know how many games it was, but they were like 40-2. I mean, they just blew everybody out, but they were treated like heroes and superstars, something that they weren't totally used to, especially the ones that were just in the United States, where they were treated, very much like second-class citizens. So it was a huge, Negro League had a huge impact on Latin American baseball, but also a little known fact is a huge impact on baseball in Japan and in broader Asia. So this photograph, which as you can see is very, very well packaged, was one of those photographs where I just saw it and I'm like, okay, this is coming to my collection. I have a number of these panoramic photos that mostly document some of the best Negro League teams through time. So, those include the 1915 Wreckers team, which was a military baseball team used for kind of entertainment in World War I, that was mostly black players, and they were again dominant and played in many different locations to entertain the troops. So I have that panorama, some California League, which is also 1927, which actually ironically is slightly after this photograph was taken, and it also includes Biz Mackey. So here is the photograph, which you can see is nearly as large as I am. I'll take it out of its home here. This packaging. By the way, kudos to Hakes for the amazing packaging on this. Just insane. So it also has, this photo also has Andy Cooper, and while at first look you're going to think that the players here are from Japan, this is actually this actual photograph was taken in Hawaii at the end of their tour, but it just still amazing documents the time, and you know how important it was. These were very expensive photographs to manufacture at the time, still are, and that just tells you how important the event was. So here, hopefully you can see okay. This is the photo. It's this large. It's basically 4.5 feet. We'll try to show the camera. Obviously, it shows the test of time here. Not in mint condition, but with a photo like this, it's the only one I've ever seen in collecting Negro League memorabilia. Ultra clear. Look at the size difference. Hopefully you can see this of the Negro League players. The ultra clear photograph. This is just wow. Wow. Top shelf. Amazing. All the fans in the background, you can't see them easily, you know, on there, but I gotta tell you, this is one special piece. So anyway, that was one piece I was super looking forward to. And in the other box that I have here, I wonder if there's even glass big enough to frame that. Wow, it's gonna be interesting. So this other box doesn't necessarily have you know, stuff that you would see typically on my posts, but equally important things, I would say. You know, I think as we're all collectors, we all try to think about, hey, you know, what type of things do I like? What things, you know, bring me joy? And you know, I've collected a few things kind of from my childhood, you know, like people are doing with Pokemon cards. And on this particular piece, I kind of went, you know, a little deep on some stuff that I find very interesting and I got a lot of joy out of as a kid. In addition to that, there's an album in here that, very much like the soccer albums, was filled out in Cuba in the 1920s. That includes some, you know, many different you know, people, but it has, you know, actors, actresses, but what I'm most interested in, it has some baseball players that are just really, really valuable, rare Negro League players. So again, solid packaging from Hakes. Kudos to them. And let's start breaking some of these small boxes. These, I don't know what's in each box, so we'll find out together. So, you know, back to some of these childhood things that I was collecting. I was a big fan of Zelda growing up, and so I have a few of the Zelda video games. You know, not huge. It's not like my soccer collection or my Negro League collection, but it's just some of these little things from my collecting. And so recently, I decided I was going to go back and get some of these, which, you know, if you're in your 50s, you probably recognize. These are the original Star Wars figures, the 12 backs. This particular one is non-punch, which is usually pretty, at least to me, adds some value. It doesn't have a sticker. It's graded AFA 85. It looks like literally it just came off the shelf. And these are from 1978. So this is Chewbacca in this particular box. So we've got Chewbacca. And then we've got a couple of these. So this was quite fun to kind of get into something new when you have, you know, a lot of different. It's hard for me to pick up anything new in the Negro League collections. Even soccer, it's hard for me to get anything new. I'd say about 80%, no, maybe even more, maybe 95% of the soccer stuff I get today are duplicates. Now, a lot of those are to upgrade. Some of them are you know, just new issues, because soccer is so diverse. It's probably the thing I love most about soccer collecting. It's so diverse around the globe, and just being able to constantly on the daily find, you know, one or two new cards is really exciting. But that means that, you know, 90% of the stuff that I have is just not new, and the new stuff, I mean, 90% of the stuff that I get on the daily is not new. So here's a Han Solo, Return of the Jedi. This is graded AFA 85. Nice one, like this one too. So you got Han and Chewie. Again, that one's not from, this is from 1983. Let's see here. Then we've got, let's see what this one's in. This one is. There's lots of nuances for those that happen to collect Star Wars figures. of the Star Wars figures, because they all have different backs, A, B, C backs, are the original 12s, and there's just so many little nuances. In fact, that Chewbacca is, I believe, a C-back with no weapon, which was an Air. It got packaged with no weapon, so it's those are even more scarce. Here's a this one I love, because when I was a kid, I thought this was so cool. So this again isn't one of the original 12 backs, but it's a R2-D2. There you go. It's a 1982, and this is where it had the sensor scope being able to pop up, and that was a cool thing. If you were a Star Wars fan, to have that little added ability in the action figure was amazing. And this is an AFA 80. It does have a sticker on it, which actually I liked, because it's a Kmart sticker, and for those of you who can remember Kmart, that's where I used to buy my Star Wars figures. So that was kind of a fun little added thing for me. So you got R2, Han Solo, and you've got Chewbacca. And the last figure that I got here today is one of the exceedingly rare ones. For those who saw the original movies, you guys will remember the Jawas, had this cloth cape, but somehow things got lost in translation when Kenner was manufacturing them in Asia, and some of the original first runs of the figures were interpreted to have a vinyl cape. So they created these Jawa figures with a vinyl cape, which did not correspond with anything in the movie. And so as soon as they realized this mistake, of course, they stopped that production and put the typical cloth cape that you see, and many of you who played with them remember that little furry cape that was on. It was cool, and it felt very much like the Jawas you saw in the movie. This is not a Jawa you saw in the movie, because he has this vinyl cape, right? And this is an AFA 85, and this is from 1978, and it's unpunched with the sticker. And this is actually a C-back, which, as far as I know, I think there's only a couple of vinyl Jawas with a C-back, and it makes sense because it was a mistake, and they tried to fix it, and they got it out. So anyway, here's the here is for Star Wars figures that I think are pretty dang amazing. And if you like Star Wars and you like Star Wars figures, I think it's a neat thing to collect if you enjoyed that as a kid. I certainly did. Okay, so now that means inside here there must be the album. So let me pull this out. I feel like I'm digging for something. I am, and now I'm making a mess, but clean that up later. Okay, so in here is probably one of the cooler things that, at least I think is cool, that you're likely to see. And this is a 23-24 Nacionales album. And if you can imagine, Nacionales is a Cuban cigarette manufacturer, and they made this album, and this album has 1,000 cards to it. So this is 1920s Cuba, and they had a 1,000-card album. That's a lot of cigarettes. So someone to fill this, it would have been either the unbelievably most chain smoker you've ever known, or it would need to be someone who was just an unbelievable collector who found the way to get all of these albums filled. So when you look at this, I can't help but wonder, who was the person that filled this album? What did they do, or how did they put it together? Were they just the consummate collector and just found all these things, asked all their friends and neighbors, and just put them together? or were they unbelievable chain smoker? Imagine how many duplicates you get in 1,000 card set. So in this, you can see it. Here's Nacionales. Here's the album. And I'm not going to open every single page here, but I just want you to appreciate some of the beauty of these. Let me see if I can find a page that relates to soccer. I mean, there are some soccer ones in here, but well, first, just take a look at the art. Here's some, here's lots of movie stars, of course, of movies that none of us remember, but just look at the art in the pages. It's just insane. So there's, again, this one has baseball players. It has, some sporting stars, like some soccer players, some boxers. Here happen to be the baseball players, and it's just one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. And to find them all in a complete album with 1,000 cards is insane. Now, most of the cards we see get soaked off, so somebody will put these in water and they will float off because they had water-based glue, and then you press them. So most of them that we see in the market, not unlike many of the soccer stickers, started in these albums. And here's the baseball ones, all on 2 pages. Amazing collectible, super happy to have, and kind of rounds out, for the most part, my Negro League collection. So anyway, that was my amazing mail day today. I know it's a little off the beaten path from what I normally post, but I thought a lot of the stuff in here was just epic, and some people may be interested in hearing and seeing other things that I happen to collect. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.